Hello.
Hello, Philip. How are you?
Long time no see.
I mean, obviously, we've had to record this in advance because Philip is now off sailing the seven seas.
I am. I just realised that long time no see is a good pun.
It
Also,
is. Do you need to write it down?
no, because we're recording it, so it's fine.
Mm.
Yes, we're recording this slightly ahead of time because
Yeah.
I am off on a cruise for work. It's a 2-week cruise in the Mediterranean where I will be performing 9 times
Yeah.
over 3 nights. The rest is all holiday, unless you're my wife, in which case it's all work.
It's all right. Oh, poor Philip. Well, notes of sympathy and caring can be sent to the address that will pop up soon. And if you watched last week's Patreon or portion, you'll know that someone was swimming ahead. And due to the continuity of, although we have changed our clothes out of respect to you, so you felt it was a new episode, you will still be able to hear the person.
Or, I can't believe they've been strimming their hedge for a week now. This is outrageous. Maybe it's not strimming, maybe it's angle grinding. But my goodness, it's outrageous.
I think they only thought they had enough hedge to trim for one day, but in fact it's lasted 8 days, which is very topical because where you are in history, not history, in the future, it's now Hanukkah.
There we are. It's Hanukkah for Hanukkah. We didn't put candles in it because we weren't confident which day it would be. So just assume there are some candles there.
I also didn't know where the candles were.
And obviously I will be endeavouring to light candles out at sea on the cruise.
I bet they do have a little spot for Jews
I'm sure
to
they
do
would.
candles.
Yeah, I'm sure they would.
You could lead everyone in Miles to Saw.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I will definitely do that. I might just encourage donuts eating from the buffet.
Donut, do that. Sorry, I'm really sorry.
I will not be using that joke on the cruise. So it's Hanukkah. But interesting, the cruise, in terms of the my Jewish thing this week, it's related to the cruise. Okay. So I got the job because a good friend of the podcast, Joe Bohr, who's been on the show, very good friend, very good comedian, and also the illustrator of my children's joke book.
Did you write a children's joke book, Philip?
I didn't write it, I compiled it.
Is it for charity by any chance?
Funny you should say that. It is for charity, and it's available for Hanukkah, / Christmas, / Diwali. Yes, he has done a load of these and couldn't do some, so he gave my name to his agent and he got me booked onto that. And what feels very Jewish about it is when I was saying how grateful I was for the work, because obviously it's a nice job to be able to do. Yeah. His response seemed very Jewish because he wanted me to pay him back, not just in food, but in Chinese food.
That's traditional Christmas and New Year Jewish food.
The smell. Yeah. They were definitely sawing wood. That was not hedge trimming.
No, I think they've now started a bonfire. What could be more topical for Hanukkah than
that was sawed wood. That smell, that's carpentry. That's sawed wood.
Well, I'll find out and I'll let you know.
I do wish this was a scratch and sniff episode. Yeah. But my nose is, I'm getting hints of design technology.
What's good is we clearly don't have COVID because we can smell it. So.
Yes, that's good. Brilliant. News. So anyway, shortly after this, I'm going round to Joe to have lunch, and I think I would have to buy him another Chinese, right? In order to thank him for it just feels very Jewish that he doesn't want paying, he doesn't want commission, he doesn't want for me to pay it forward in terms of getting him. He's like, no, just feed me. Right.
How many meals do you think you're going to have to provide to thank him for getting you this work? And also, question 2 or part B, if you end up with more work because this cruise goes, in fact, you're doing 2 of them, if they go very well, we all hope they do, then how many meals are you going to have to be, how long are you going to be feeding Joe for? Because he's also quite a close friend of ours, and, we have been out with him. He can eat Kanai.
He can indeed, as can we all. So this is the second meal that he's getting, because I've already bought him Chinese once, because the cruise I'm doing currently, when this comes out, is the first cruise. There's then a second cruise, which will be over that most heathen of festivals, Christmas.
I don't even know what Christmas is.
So this is the second one where I told him I was doing a second. He said, "Oh, I guess you owe me another Chinese." So that's it. I think I will treat it like any other Jewish incident after this, where I will immediately forget my roots. And yeah, I think he's had his meal. Like, I'll hang out with him still. I'm not going to forget, and we'll have Chinese. But I think after this one, he might have to
pay for his half.
Pay. Well, yeah. But we'll see, because if more cruises come, I may not enjoy them. They may not enjoy me. This may be very short-lived. You may find that Rachel is hosting these shows by herself in the future, because they had an announcement from the Coast Guard that my body washed up ashore.
Yeah, and we'd have to change it from you talking to me to the Philip Simon Memorial Podcast, which some people will call the Simon Philip Memorial Podcast.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, he meant such a lot to me, Simon. He was.
I was thinking, first of all, we have also got different cups now. I hope you've noticed that, but that wasn't on purpose. That was because I was too lazy to wash up the ones we just used, and also because I was too scared to try another coffee with whatever sweetener it was. It's like fancy sweetener. I mean, the water's good. Water's good. Well, because Barnet has a natural lake, but also you should really be like doing this as if you're on a boat. It's a ship. Ship. What's the difference between a ship and a boat? I would say about £5,000 a ticket, okay, which I'm not paying for, so it's okay. Right. Yes, I should. Just for the realism, and I'll stay completely still because I'm one. I used to do this when I was standing after having our first child. I would find myself not our first child. I'd find myself just standing like this because I was in the zone of rocking. Oh. So even when I wasn't holding the baby, I was still. Okay, that is very interesting, because when we started this podcast, which is our baby to an extent, I was always moaning at you for rocking backwards and forwards. You used to do that all the time. And we have got loads of outtake footage. I don't know if you remember, because we did share a clip of outtakes a few times. Me shouting at you to stop going backwards and forwards. But I thought you were just being religious. Yes, I'm just doubling my way through it, because we do treat this podcast like our baby, in that we're hugely disappointed in it. Well, no, I'm proud but very pushy about it. So that's my most Jewish thing. I think it does feel like it's a weird thing to feed someone, but it's not Jewish food, it's Chinese food. There is a Jewish thing with Chinese food. There is a Jewish thing. Jews are obsessed with Asian food. Right. I don't really know why that is. There are many theories. But definitely where I live, there are a lot of sushi shops. There was even a kosher sushi option at one point, I think was kind of mooted. And yesterday found out that one of the restaurants in Bournemouth is now, the kosher ones, opening a sushi counter next week. Yes. It's like they've kind of gone, we're mediocre at everything. Let's add one more thing to that slate. I don't know. I really love sushi. I quite like sushi, but I think if you are an all-encompassing restaurant, then what's your focus? What are you good at? That's the thing. Yeah, no, kosher restaurants tend to have lots of different varieties of stuff. My dad always had a theory, and I don't think it's ever been disproven, that if you go to a kosher place, and particularly there used to in fact be I'm trying to remember what it's called. I think it was called Catskills, and it was a kosher buffet restaurant. So you had like fixed price, and it had food from all over the world and different sides of the room. They had, like Italian foods on this bit and traditional Jewish food on that bit and Chinese foods, whatever. And his theory, and I think there is scientific basis this, is that if you only eat food from one continent at a time, then you can eat more. You don't fill up as fast and you don't end up with like indigestion or you feel sick or whatever. So as long as you have the Italian food, then you have the Chinese food, then you don't like mix and match on the plate, like the same with beer and whiskey, Right. Yeah. So you'd have Chinese food and then you'd have an Indian chaser. Is that what your best theory is? Yeah. Yeah. Right. And then tapas is just shots. Yeah. Pre-dinner shots.
That's interesting. I don't know, when you say it's not been disproven, I was thinking he was going to come up with something actually really scientific. But
I mean, it's as scientific as we want to get.
yeah, interesting. I do like a buffet.
Well, there
Very
used to be
Very dangerous.
a restaurant, a kosher one in Hendon called Le Buffet, which was exactly that. And on a Sunday, they had like a special offer price. I can't remember what it was. I think like a tenner or whatever.
Yeah.
Eat what you want for a tenner. And when my lovely husband Mark was a student, he and his friends in his student house used to save up all week and go on Sunday to Le Buffet, eat as much as you want. And it very shortly after they moved into that student house went out of business. And I don't want to like connect the two, but I feel like the circumstantial evidence is quite clear.
I think quite possibly. Yeah. I do like I like it when restaurants have good pun names though. So Le Buffet is not great. There was an Indian restaurant in Hendon that I think is now gone, but it's called Beta Madras.
Yeah, Beta Madras. Yeah.
Which I thought was great as a pun name.
Yeah, that was a good name. I'm trying to think if there are any more, but I can't think of any other kosher restaurants with good pun names.
No, there was Marcus's Chinese restaurant, but Marcus, like the closest is mucus, and it was vile.
It wasn't vile.
What?
I loved Marcus's. This could be honestly a bagel argument.
Absolutely not. No, because bagels or Bibles, whatever you say, neither have meant that you've been on the toilet for a weekend.
That was the joy of Marcus's because you never put on weight.
No, I'm sorry. That may be your dad's theory. If you can eat food from anywhere around the world. One thing with Marcus's, you can eat weekend on the toilet. You come back and eat. No.
I love Marcus's.
By the way, we can only be disparaging about it because it doesn't exist anymore.
Well, he moved to America and opened it in America in Boca Raton. He opened Marcus's Chinese restaurant with the same menu with a sticker over the address. That's a true fact. And it still had like number 17 was chow mein, number 3 was spring rolls. Why do I know this?
What number was dysentery? I can't remember.
Sweet and sour chicken, number 26.
That's right. Set menu, all of them. It was just. Or I'm sure I've told this story in the podcast before, but there was definitely a time. My dad and I aren't kosher. We didn't back in those days. It wasn't treif. It was just we didn't need to move
away in case the bolt of lightning.
Be in a kosher restaurant. We went for a Chinese once. It took me to Marcus's, just me and him, because that's where we always went as a family. And halfway through this awful meal, we kind of looked at each other and went, "Why are we here? We could go to any Chinese. Why are we?" It was just so bad.
I loved it. And also I like the thing you could have, because you said about tapas, you could have a sort of mixed starter thing.
Yeah.
And do you remember what it was called? Because it's relevant to your comments.
Dysentery starter. No.
A poo-poo platter.
Was it called a poo-poo platter?
Yeah, P-O-U. Poo-poo platter.
I imagine it's because you finish eating it and then you've got the platter in order to
just
slide underneath
delicious. But I liked that food. And
I'm not saying I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I'm saying it wasn't good.
You got to revisit it. And one of the people who worked there, they had a guy working there, unfortunately passed away quite recently. And he worked there for years and years and years. But obviously it closed. I mean, it's got to be 20 years ago or more. And if I ever crossed his path, like in the street or whatever, I was shopping in Gold's Green, he would come up to me and he'd say, "Number 26, sweet and sour chicken, no peppers, no pineapple." Every time he saw me, which was my order, like years after it closed, he was still saying to me, "Sweet and sour chicken, no peppers, no pineapple." And I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, does that mean we got it too often? Does that mean I'm too much of a diva?
I mean, once is too often.
No, it was divine. We lived actually briefly when we moved back to London from Oxfordshire. We lived in Southgate in a flat above a Chinese restaurant.
Okay.
Which was just like, it was what we could afford at the time. It was just for 6 months. And we were on the 2 floors above it, this Chinese restaurant. And it was fine in the day. That was fine in the day, no problem. And then in the evening, the smell would rise. And we'd be on the phone to Marcus's after about 2 seconds because the smell just made you starving for those chicken wings that still had hairy feathers on.
So, hang on. Was your order 26 sweet and sour chicken, no. Or
Are you going to say 26 portions? Because
No.
I'm going to be offended.
No, I'm going to ask if perhaps you lived at number 26,
No.
and that's what he remembered.
Number 26 was the order, but he remembered our whole order. Like if Mark or our kids were with us, like he would be able to say the whole family order.
Right.
I mean, that's sort of amazing, I guess.
It was also sort of proof that perhaps they didn't have that many customers.
No, they had a lot of customers. They also did a weird burger meal. So some people had burgers and chips, and I always thought that's...
No, so we always had the sweet and sour chicken, egg
Yeah.
fried rice, probably some noodles.
Yeah. So
Fairly standard.
beef noodles.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, we would have beef noodles. Carry on there.
Okay, well, imagine we were allowed to order different things. It's like we ordered and went, really? Because the Kriegers have...
Did you have seaweed?
Well, we did have seaweed, actually, yes.
Spring rolls?
Probably.
Yeah. I'm really, really relishing for Marcus's now.
Thankfully, we can't have it. But I'm going to have Chinese for lunch with Joe, which brings us full circle to what we were talking about. So that's how Jewish my week has been.
Right.
What about you, Rachel? How Jewish is your week?
Well, I've been mainly reminiscing about a Chinese restaurant that's existed for 20-something years. I mean, I wish I'd known that was my last order. You know what I mean? You know, people have regrets. I wish I'd known that last Marcus's meal was my last. I would have savoured it.
The problem is,
twice.
I think with Marcus's, every meal could have been your last meal.
That was the joy. But my most Jewish thing is sort of connected, I guess, all this and to Chanukah, Festival of Lights, because obviously one of the big customs for Chanukah is frying things.
Yep.
And really anything you fry is delicious, right?
Yes.
Pretty much. Like put it in pastry, chuck it in hot oil, all delicious. But on there's a site called What You Want to Eat, as in Jew, which is a good title, like Jew talking to me. On What You Want to Eat, they had a thing about a new trend, deep frying knedlach. Knedlach are like matzah balls, is the English. They're like dumplings made out of matzah, crumb, flour, oil, egg, whatever, and you have them in your chicken soup. Very traditional. I make really good, fluffy, lovely ones, but their whole...
I've never had your knedlach.
And now...
I've had your chicken soup.
Now you are way less likely to.
Viewers will remember Chicken Soup Gate from a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, don't think I haven't forgotten. Anyway, so... but the whole ethos of a knedel, singular, is for it to be light and fluffy, right? If they're like cannonballs weighing down your bowl, then people will be very judgy. Like my grandmothers both made fluffy knedlach. Thankfully, I've inherited that gene. And the idea of deep frying them has really like torn me in half. Like I've really been thinking about ever since I read the article a couple of days ago. So all I could think about, I actually put it, I think, on our Twitter, because on the one hand, frying, amazing. On the other hand, they're supposed to be fluffy, but also the joy of a knedel is that it takes on all the flavor of your soup, right? Can you feel how passionate I am about this? It takes on the flavor of your soup. So, and it didn't say in the recipe that you're supposed to first let it be in your soup for a few hours, let it absorb all the penicillin, Jewish penicillin, and then you deep fry it, you know, crumb it and deep fry it. So then it would, I guess, have some of the benefits of its natural life. Or whether you just take the dough and like, or boil it a bit just in water and then fry. I don't know, but it left a bitter taste in my mouth.
I mean, I think it feels like you wouldn't want to put it in your soup whole. You want to at least cut it in half so it can still absorb.
But then you don't put the fried one in your soup. No.
What?
No, it was a delicacy in and of its own right.
No.
I think this is the most we've ever agreed on anything.
It's not all right.
It's not all right.
It has to go. It has to be in the soup.
Thank
Who
goodness.
has a dumpling by itself?
I mean, I would eat a dumpling by itself.
No.
But only once it's been in. It's like if you make a meat stew and you put dumplings. Have you ever done that? Meat stew with dumplings?
No, I've made meat stew, but not with dumplings.
It's a thing. It's a British thing, really.
Right.
I don't know if there's a Jewish version.
I'm not patriotic.
There's definitely a Jewish version. But I can conceive of picking up one of the dumplings for a little treat and having it on its own. But
no, see, for me, those are things that complement what you're having. So if you're having the soup and you're having the knedler, you want them in the soup, and then if you've got these balls, you cut them up in, with your spoon, you cut,
Yeah.
and it all absorbs. So I don't mind deep frying it if you're then going to put it in the soup.
They don't go soggy. Do you know what it looked like,
No,
Philip?
It's soup.
It looked like
I don't want to eat my soup with a knife and fork. It's soup.
a disappointing Scotch egg.
But see, I think a Scotch egg looks like a disappointing Scotch egg.
Yeah, it's a weird idea, Scotch egg.
Yeah, I get why they were a thing. Like people would take them to work for
Oh, I
lunch,
see,
down the mines or somewhere where you couldn't.
We know so much about
I
history.
watched Bake Off.
No, because you're thinking of Cornish pasties.
No, it's the same thing.
No, Cornish pasties, they had a handle.
Yeah, it's the same.
They didn't have a handle on
No, but it's the
Scotch
same.
egg.
It's the same concept. I mean, that
Right.
it's about having an easy snack or easy thing that you can eat that's filling,
Right.
but doesn't you don't have to put everything together on your plate as you're eating it.
Okay.
It's just there. So it
It's
has to
everything
be-
in one go.
right.
There's where are the vegetables in a Scotch egg? Like pasties, meat and vegetables.
I didn't say it had to be a balanced diet.
Nutritious.
You've got your egg. You've got sometimes there's meat.
Yeah,
Like,
the meat
mint,
surrounds the egg, and
Right.
then egg.
I don't
Then
think
it's
people.
dip it in egg,
I
and
don't
then
think people who eat Scotch
crumbs.
eggs are looking for a balanced diet. They're looking for a quick, easy snack. For me, I think they look. But see, I don't like eating just an egg by itself.
Don't you?
No. When I see people eating
Like
or a
hard-boiled egg.
tomato or an egg, and they're eating it like just an apple, I'm like, no, you need a mix of things in that mouthful. So with the cannadle in the soup, that's where it belongs.
So round
fried or not?
food seems to be a thing for you.
Well, eggs aren't round, are they?
Oval food seems to be a thing.
Well,
for you.
tomatoes aren't oval.
What shape would you like tomatoes?
Round. They're round. Tomatoes are
Plum
round.
tomatoes and oval.
Well, I'd say plum tomatoes are the smaller ones. That I don't mind. It's when you see people eating a tomato like an apple
Yeah.
as they walk down the street.
Does that happen a
Yeah.
lot?
I wouldn't say a lot.
Is it a Boreham Wood thing?
I'm saying it's happened.
I'm sure it's happened in history. Everything's
Right.
happened.
Well, there you are. So that's the thing I don't understand. For me, it's about the how flavors complement each other. So
Okay.
if I'm having an egg mayonnaise sandwich,
Right.
I don't want a mouthful of just egg. I want some mayonnaise, maybe some cress with
I mean, if it's an egg mayonnaise sandwich and you don't have egg and mayonnaise in every mouthful, then that's
right.
because that's a sandwich.
But it's also I remember years ago buying a Kit Kat,
Not a Kit Kat.
which, as you will know, is wafer covered in chocolate.
Right.
And it was 4 fingers, and I bit into one of the fingers, and it was pure chocolate throughout.
I mean, that's a win.
No, I don't think it is a win. Because if I wanted pure chocolate, I would have bought pure chocolate. I
Okay.
wanted a wafer surrounded in chocolate.
You're a very
So
unique person.
You can't be very unique. I had
It's very unique.
75% of what I wanted and 25% disappointment.
Did you write a letter of complaint?
No, I just maybe I tweeted about it. I can't remember.
I bet you did tweet about it.
Probably, but everyone else who I told about it was like, as you said, that's a win.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's pure chocolate.
It makes you lucky. It's like a golden ticket.
No, it's not, because I didn't want
Right.
pure chocolate at that point. I wanted wafer.
What's good though is that you don't sound entitled at all when you say that.
If someone's I wasn't entitled, it was a chocolate
Entitled
bar.
to wafer.
I paid
in
for
wafer.
this chocolate bar.
Yeah.
If someone said, "Oh, here's your bowl of soup," and you're like, "There's no soup there. It's just canadler, like just a dumpling thing," they'd be like, "Well, yeah, but that's fine, isn't it? That's a win."
Right, but
because
if
you
it was cooked in the soup, that would be all right. Deep frying it and giving it to me dry.
rubbish. So I'm not sure I can be on board with everything you say, but we have vaguely agreed.
We
on
have vaguely
something,
agreed.
which is it's a milestone.
A milestone.
It's worth noting the time when this happened.
Well, we have to project it into the future.
Yes,
It's 11:39 on whatever day this is.
there we are, and I'm somewhere in the Bay of Biscay or I don't know, well, Gibraltar maybe.
The
Don't
Bay
know.
of Pigs.
I have a feeling, by the way, as exotic as all this sounds, I have a feeling I'm not going to be allowed off the ship due to COVID around Europe. But
I was going to say boat again, and I withheld. Shall we move on to the portion?
oh my goodness, yes, because it's exciting one this time because I'm doing it. So yes, let's do the portion.
Well, I'm very excited for the portion because it's another Philip special.
Thank you very much. I am excited about this one actually because I didn't have to research it that much because it was my bar mitzvah portion.
Hold on a second. I might have props for you.
Oh my goodness, have you got me a pen? Have you got me a Parker pen that I need to write my thank yous with?
I thought we had like one of those small taluses that you could put on.
No.
Did you not wear a little mini prayer shawl for your bar mitzvah?
Yes, but at that age it wasn't mini. It was
you wore a proper
as I've
one?
got bigger, it now looks mini.
Right. I could get you one. We have got one in the other room.
I'm all right. Thanks.
Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to like feel like you were recreating the moment.
No, because then I'd have to slow dance awkwardly with someone.
I am not up for that.
So yes, miquettes.
Sorry, I was looking because we do have. Hold on a minute.
Oh my goodness, I'm not dressing up.
I'm not expecting you to dress up. No, I thought we had like a little mini Sefer Torah somewhere, and I was going to bring it out, but it somehow has not survived the move. I think. Okay, sorry.
I don't like the Sefer Torah. I prefer the more dangerous Torah.
Right, okay.
So Rachel is going to stop looking for stuff
Sorry.
to embarrass me with, as if it was actually my bar mitzvah. So miquettes, which means I've literally forgotten what you just told me.
It means like at the end.
At the end, it means at the end.
But it isn't the end.
Oh my goodness, it's not the end. We've got weeks left. But it's the end of the musical Joseph.
No, it
It's
isn't.
not even that.
It's the end of the couple of years he was rotting in jail.
In jail.
Well, that's how they pronounce it. Joseph is still doing time in jail.
No, that's how one particular actor pronounced it, and you're like, well, that's it. It's jail. So he's been
Because it's down at the other. Oh, but it's funny because it's down at the other end of the scale.
Skyle.
Scale. Okay, sorry. Continue.
I continue or start again. Either way. All right, now Rachel has stopped trying to find ways to embarrass me with
Embellish.
memories of my bar mitzvah. We are going to talk about miquettes, which means at the end. Although it's nowhere near the end. There's loads more to come. Not just this story, but other stories.
Yeah.
But I guess it's the end. This is what I was thinking more realistically. It's the end of his time in jail.
Is it? Because that's exactly how they sing it in the musical.
Yeah, jail apparently, but it's jail. He's become kind of known as someone who can interpret dreams, and
Yeah.
Pharaoh's been having these bad dreams.
Yeah.
Which we know from the musical, obviously, that he is an Elvis impersonator. And his dreams are his dreams are about fat cows and skinny cows, and he needs someone to help him understand what it is.
I'm just imagining that planning meeting of the director and the musical director and the choreographer, and they've got the script, and they're going, do you know what would be good? What if we made Pharaoh like Elvis?
Well, I think the fact they already had the script in front of them probably means it had been written in such a way that it was definitely meant as an Elvis thing.
Imagine coming up with that idea.
Because he's there.
Because now, can you imagine it not being Elvis in that musical? No. I mean, when I learn that portion, like if I'm teaching about mitzvah, or it is parasha of miquettes, and it's, I'm in synagogue with it open, everything about Pharaoh I hear in an Elvis voice.
And then, of course, we get eventually to the scene where Pharaoh dies on the toilet.
After too many burgers and shakes.
But people still think he's alive somewhere. He never left the temple.
That's why he kept dreaming about the cows. Yeah. Burgers and shakes.
Burgers and shakes, that's what it is. So he's having these dreams, and it's ears of corn, and it's the cows, and it's he needs someone to interpret it, and the butler remembers the promise he made to Joseph to get him out of prison.
Yeah.
Prison. And so Joseph has to interpret these dreams, and does, and just explains that it means there's going to be
7 years of bumper crops are on their way.
7 years of mediocrity in musical after that. So 7 years of bumper crops where it's a good time to start hoarding and start,
we've just been through that here.
So go out, get your pasta, get your toilet paper, get all those bits. And then you're going to need it because for 7 years after that, you're not going to have any of that. So, so that's kind of the story. There's a little bit more in there that kind of was thrown in that I don't remember at all about taking Simeon hostage.
Yeah,
because
this is the whole hiding a cup in young Benjamin's sack.
That I remember, of course, but I don't remember Simeon being taken as hostage. So basically, Joseph sends the brothers home to get Benjamin because Benjamin hasn't
You've
come.
skipped a lot of story between. He interprets dreams. He becomes the prime minister. Yeah. There's a famine. There's those Canaan days we used to know.
Right.
And then they come to beg for food. And if you're a very East End Jew, come to beg for food from this prime minister, and they don't recognise him.
Yes, which is nonsense.
Why is it nonsense?
Oh my goodness, we're back to the EastEnders world of.
They haven't seen him for years.
Conveniently not
he was
recognising.
Little scrawny brother who they chucked in a pit and hated and
but
avoided
don't
as much.
That much?
They do.
Oh my goodness.
You don't, because I saw you with a mitzvah photo when I was at your parents' house.
Well, there we are. See, people don't change that much.
But some do.
So, we've had the famine. We've had that they're coming to beg to.
Famine can change you.
Goodness. How hard is it for the brothers just to check in on Facebook from time to time,
right,
and see what their brother's up to?
But I'm saying that they sent him off with the hairy Ishmaelites.
Yeah,
and then he sort of had periods of slavery.
Yeah,
and then he was working in Potiphar's house, so he had luxury, and then he was in prison, so presumably not great. And then now he's working in the palace, and now also he's a fully grown man. He was a kid. So I think it is feasible. And also they weren't expecting to see him, and he'll have been in some kind of uniform.
So context, I'll give you that. The context was not in their favour, but I do think it's a bit weak that
he has an Egyptian accent by now.
These 10 people turn up, and he kind of goes, hang on a minute, can you go home and get Benjamin, please? And they don't go, do we know this guy?
Well, first he asked them about their family in great detail, and they said, "Oh, I've got a dad, my brother who died."
None of this came up in my portion, by the way. None of this. This interview,
but in Hebrew.
This interview that happened didn't.
It did, and then they said,
"I had to do 3 portions, by the way." Normally,
what do you mean?
So you normally do 1 portion, but because it was Chanukah, I had to do a second portion, so 2 scrolls, and then like 2 weeks before, the rabbi phoned me up and said, just realised it's a new moon. So you need to do a 3rd portion. Do you want to do it, or do you want me to do it and you just focus on the 2? And like an idiot, I went, well, I'll do it. It's fine. It's
not an idiot. It's a skill. Once you learn the skill.
I know the laning and the notes. So yeah, that's fine. So I had to do 3 portions. I don't remember any of them except maquettes.
Your parents must have had so much nachas and been so proud of you.
Nah, not really.
Did everyone throw sweets?
No, that's not a reform thing.
You don't throw sweets?
No.
First time I feel like we're at an advantage.
No, we don't throw sweets. We don't.
So you never had a thing of throwing sweets, trying to knock the rabbi's hat off, all that? You never done that?
No, we respected our rabbi.
Wow. Honestly, it's like a different world.
Well, respecting your rabbi. You should try it sometime. No, we the sweets thing. The first time I knew about the sweets thing was when my cousin in Israel had his bar mitzvah,
and suddenly everyone's
allowed to throw sweets. And I was thinking, why would I throw? You've just given me sweets. Why am I throwing these?
Because then you have to run in.
No. I didn't care about that.
Do you know what I do when it's a bat mitzvah? I think things have changed a bit now, because now the bat mitzvah girls speak from on the podium, the bimah, but in previous time in our synagogue, when they didn't let them do that, it used to really annoy me that the girl would speak from the women's section or in between, and then they would throw the sweets into the men's section for the boys to get. And I thought that wasn't on. So I used to stand right at the front of the women's section, and I used to grab sweets and throw them back into the women's area.
Whereas what I do when girls are being bat mitzvah is I just sit there tutting.
There's a lot of people who do that as well. But I do appreciate I interrupted you, and that wasn't very fair. So you were just saying about you didn't remember the element of Joseph saying, I'm going to hang on to Simeon and you go and fetch your other brother. Let's have them all here.
Because again, a lot of my memory of maquettes or the whole story is from the musical. Right. And I don't remember Simeon being held captive while they went to get Benjamin. I just remember him being told, go get Benjamin, come back, and then we'll talk. Right. And then there's obviously the hiding of the cup.
Yeah, in young Benjamin's sack.
Benjamin's sack, which depending on which interpretation you look at, apparently the cup has more meaning than just a cup. But it might have magical powers like
what?
Like, I'll read it to you. It says here.
I don't remember that. Magical powers.
Hang on, no, not maybe magic is the wrong word. No, it is actually. Then he plants his silver goblet, purportedly imbued with magic powers.
Purportedly by whom?
Whom? I don't know. Whoever wrote this nonsense. Tim Rice?
Let's not say nonsense.
So Joseph then decides that Benjamin has stolen from him.
Well, he
waits to see the reaction of the brothers to see are they still the horrible people that threw him in the pit, or are they better people who will now defend their brother? And obviously there's the song, it's all about musical, where it's like, the calypso. So
we can't. I don't think we can sing that anymore.
No, we can't.
As to
probably,
British Jews,
which is silly, really. We can't. But anyway, not him, take me. It's all of that kind of.
How you can accuse him as a mystery,
right? So Joseph then goes, "Do you know what? They're not so bad after all. I'm going to tell them who I really am." And he does the whole, "Don't you remember me? Can't you recognize my face?
Joseph, is it really true?" Right.
Scenes from Oliver as well, apparently. And he reveals himself to be their brother, and it could have gone either way.
Yeah.
They could have been.
Right. No wonder we hated you.
You dick. What was that?
Yeah.
That, that could have been, could have backfired, but they're very happy. And then Jacob is brought to him in the musical. I don't know if he is in real life.
Yeah, no, he is. Yeah.
I say real life very
in real
loosely.
Life. We know that he is because, again, archaeology. But,
right.
He's brought down. The whole family come to see out the famine.
So I really like this story. As I said, partly because I just remember maquettes as my portion, but it's a nice part in the musical as well. And as we know from last week, it's not my favourite musical, and the only bad thing about this part in the musical is it's very close to when he's about to sing "Any Dream Will Do," which I hate.
But first you've got "So Jacob came to Egypt."
Exactly like that.
Isn't that right?
But it's a good story.
It is a good
story.
story.
You've got a bit of everything with the dreams being interpreted, the dreams being realized as well, not just interpreted. It all comes true, and the idea of planning. I don't know how you store food for 7 years and it doesn't go off. I mean,
survivalist type people like doomsday preppers and everything. They have methods of doing it. They have beans and they can everything.
Sure, but as we know from last week's episode, your gherkins didn't last you being in a few weddings.
I'm not a doomsday prepper. I'm not a prepper, but I have a friend who has a basement and he's storing pulses and rice and water and whatever, just in case if there's another lockdown or if this lockdown is some kind of thing to kickstart society in some weird way. He's got stuff,
I think society could benefit from being kickstarted.
Yeah, I'd like it if we could go back to a barter system. I was sort of hoping that's what would happen, that during the whole COVID thing, society would collapse and we wouldn't need money anymore, but it'd be like, I'll get you on a cruise, you get me a lunch.
I think that's kind of how the Tories work, actually. I went to school with you, you get me £1 billion contract, that kind of thing.
Perfect.
So it has sort of happened, what you have prophesied
in the past.
Yeah.
Well,
so there we are. That's the portion. I think because that was my mitzvah portion, I'm going to now retire. That's the last one I'm going to do.
No, I'm going to definitely make you do more.
But enjoy this week's one. It's a nice one. Obviously, it's Hanukkah, so happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
Hanukkah Sameach. Hanukkah Sameach. Hope you get a chance to be with family and light some candles. I think we're doing a mass Zoom one because our family is currently dotted all over the world. So
that'll be amazing because then when you all sing Mars Sur or whatever song you sing, there'll be like a slight delay between each one and it'll sound really haunting and awful.
Oh my God. That'd be you have to keep stopping it. Can you hear me? Is this thing on?
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. So
eat donuts. If you like them. eat latkes.
Have some Hanukkah gelt, which I never fully understood why that was a thing, but chocolate money. And
So many reasons.
if you are going to get presents, then why not get yourself a children's joke book raising money for charity? Schools Out Comedy Club. We'll put a link somewhere. Thanks very much for joining us. As ever, we've got the portion, which is complete free access. We're happy to make those videos for everyone. And if you would like some more bonus content exclusively for our Patreon subscribers, then you can do so by following the links at the end of this episode. But for now,
goodbye. Happy Hanukkah.
Bye.
Well, I quite enjoyed having you do the portion.
I think you enjoy it more because you let me get into my stride and then go, aha, but what about this? And I'm left going, did I do any work? Like, did I?
The answer is
I'm generally sat there second guessing myself as whether I did any research this week, which I'd say.
Well, you did the research for this 30 years ago.
30 years ago.
Or something.
No, it's 30 years.
Is it 30 years?
40. Yes, 30. Oh my goodness. What's the year? It's 2021. It's 30 years.
30 years ago. So, hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. It's been incredibly Jewish and very food orientated.
Mm-hmm.
And we wish you a happy Hanukkah. Enjoy the rest of your week.
And I will see you again from the cruise next week.
I don't know why I'm excited. I'm not going. I'm going to still be here, but just in a different bit of the same room.
There's every chance I'm not going. We have to re-record all of this because I'll have the COVID test at the ship and they'll be like, no, sorry, your kid sneezed in your face. You're not going anywhere. Don't breathe out like that. What are you doing?
Oh my God. I've just done a COVID test, so I'm currently the least COVID-y person. In fact, I have to worry more about you.
Yeah, but to me, that feels like people that do a DBS check.
What, you just haven't been caught yet?
For the next 3 years, I'm not a paedophile.
Well, on that merry note, see you soon.
Bye.